call this meeting to order. Please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, then standing as Rodney leads us in prayer. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you, Father God, for bringing us back together in the midst of this mess. We thank you for your bounty and for taking care of us, and we can ask for you to continue to help and wisdom as we work through our issues. In the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferris?
Here.
Ms. Stevens? Here. Ms. Harlan? Here. Mr. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Bowe? Here. Mr. Brock?
Here.
Mr. Burris?
Here.
Mr. Kuhn?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Public participation, there's no one signed up tonight, so I'm not going to read that paragraph. Consent agenda, approval of documents and action items as listed. Claims report, claims dated June 23, 2020 through July 13, 2020. Meeting minutes, City Council meeting minutes, June 22nd, 2020. Treasurer's report, May 2020. Permit report, June 2020. Fire report, June 2020. Police report, June 2020. And budget report, June 2020. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Tammy, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Any comments or questions before we vote? I'm not used to having people behind me. Hearing or no one screaming, so I guess we're okay. Jill, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ferris?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Stevens? Yes. Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Bowe?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Mayor's report this evening. As I said before, I'm not used to this. It's really hard for me to figure out who's saying what and who's trying to get my attention, so they're going to have to work it out by themselves back there. Anyway, events coming up in the community, we're still a little slow, but we're hopeful we can get events going safely soon. The inaugural Sangamon Valley CEO class will be having their trade show tomorrow evening from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at Monarch. Please come see what businesses this group of young leaders has come up with. Some will have products and services to sell, while others will pitch their business. The city of Monticello is one of the investors in this program, and we look forward to seeing it grow over the years. Allerton Park is hosting a virtual Midsummer Blues concert with Billy Galt on Friday, July 19th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., streaming through Allerton's Facebook page. The Piatt County Trailblazers will be hosting a car show and fair food extravaganza Friday, July 24th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and a bags tournament on July 25th. Please support them and the other organizations and businesses as they slowly open back up. Visit the local farmers market Thursdays from 6 o'clock p.m. on North State Street by the Monticello Community Building. A couple of new businesses in the community. Congratulations to Clean Movement on opening this week. Clean Movement is owned by a former Cirque du Soleil artist and Monticello resident, Nick Bailey, focusing on gymnastics, parkour, circus, beginner tumbling, warrior, cheer, and more. They are located in the new pre-game sports facility. Welcome to Libby's Closet and Treasures, located at 206 West Washington, off the alleyway behind the Brown Bag Walk. Moving on to new business. I have a mayoral appointment to make this evening. I would like to nominate Barry Miller to serve on the Fire and Police Commission. Mr. Miller has 24 years of firefighter paramedic experience, 15 years of police department experience, 11 years of leadership, personal growth, and development experience, and is a certified instructor in many areas of emergency services. He's very interesting, very well spoken. I think he'll be a perfect fit for the commission. Is there a motion to approve his appointment?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second. No.
Any comments or questions? Hearing or seeing none. Jill?
Mr. Frerichs?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Moak?
Yes.
Mr. Rock?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Coon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Resolution 2020-32, a resolution approving an agreement with Core Distinction Group for a comprehensive hotel market feasibility study. And I think I've looked Terry from, correct?
Yes, sir. So, in our attempt to keep the attendance down, Callie will normally be presenting this. She's been working on this, as well as Brett Baker will be presenting the next item. But obviously, attendance, we want to keep the minimum. So, Resolution 2020-32, the City of Monticello has engaged in feasibility studies for various sectors. Over the last few years, many times, cost shares on the developer of interest. This practice is in the best interest of the city, the citizens, and the future of the community to have accurate, up-to-date information that would show the impact that development could have on the local economy. Core Distinction Group LLC is a firm specializing in the hospitality industry, which the city has contracted with in the past, the most recent being in 2016. After being approached by a developer about a potential project, staff felt it was in the best interest of the city to update the feasibility study for hospitality needs in the community. In the last 4 years, the industry has changed tremendously, not just from the offerings, but the travel habits of individuals. Market changes include 2 bed and breakfast, more nights, Idle House, but we also have more travel-induced operations with Do or No that are moving into the old Hunter property. Panhandle, KMC services have expanded, residential growth, and a change in the tourism leadership and marketing. The cost of the study is not to exceed $7,500 and is estimated to take 30 days. As in the past, the study will be paid for from TIP funds as an eligible expense, with half the amount reimbursed by the developer. So it is recommended the City Council discuss and vote on whether to approve or deny Resolution 2020-32.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2020-32, a resolution approving an agreement with Core Distinction Group for a comprehensive hotel market feasibility study?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments, questions? Not hearing any, I'll ask Jill to do a roll call, please.
Mr. Frerichs?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Moak?
Yes.
Mr. Rock?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Coon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Resolution 2020-33, a resolution of acceptance of proposal to furnish materials and approval of award annual MFT street seal coat. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we sent the agenda out, all the numbers and figures weren't provided to you because the bid opening was this morning at 10 a.m. So we definitely need to get it on the agenda for tonight because the deadline to do this seal coat operation is August 14th. We want to do that as well in advance of the school starting, if they are starting. So Resolution 2020-33, this Illinois Department of Transportation required resolution, and in this provided form provides for the City Council approval and award of this year's oil and chip seal coat operation. Like I mentioned, the bid opening was this morning, and I believe Jill, you update that on the website? Did you? Thank you. So we had one bid by Ileana Construction. We normally have 2, too. But Ileana was the only one, and they came in at $82,679.85. If you recall, we had $100,000 budgeted, so we're well underneath the budget amount. And this year, on top of the regular oil and chip program you're all familiar with, we're going to actually do a new seal coat operation of the Evergreen subdivision to try to extend, get as much more life out of that asphalt pavement as we can. And then we may see how that works and maybe implement it in other areas of town as need be. So the bids came in this morning in our favor, the one bid. So it is recommended City Council discuss and approve resolution 2020-33 as submitted. So they can start hauling in rock and get this thing done before school.
Thank you, Terry. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2020-33, a resolution of acceptance of proposal to furnish materials and approval of award annual MFT street seal coat?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, John.
Are there any comments or questions of Terry before we vote?
Just curious, why only one bid? Is everybody busy enough, you think?
No, we called the other company, Earl Walker, this morning, and hopefully the young lady still has a job because she apologized for the bid. It was laying on her desk. She didn't get it in.
Any other comments or questions? That's a pretty good one. Hearing or seeing none, Joe?
Mr. Ferris,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes.
Ms. Harmon,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Vogt,
Yes.
Mr. Rock,
Yes.
Mr. Burris,
Yes.
Mr. Coon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on, fiscal year 2020 budget update. Discussion only. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Stoner and some of the council members have requested some updates for fiscal year 2020 and fiscal impacts the city of Monticello could witness due to COVID-19 and the gubernatorial order of shelter in place that began in mid-March of this year. So I've got a lot of figures to kind of go over. Some of them, Maura was gracious enough to get that budget report to the council for July budget report. So some of those numbers I'll reflect will be in that budget report, and then some of the numbers I'll go over will be we took the fiscal year 2020 budget, and then we started plugging and chugging projected revenue loss that we may or may not witness. It depends on which economist you want to listen to as far as the damage that we may encounter or we may not. So I'm going to run through some numbers. If you have any questions, I'm going to try to go as slow as I can because everything, is looking fairly well so far. But these numbers may not reflect where we are today as far as it may be a month. We may see witness stuff happening that we won't receive in April, May. We may not receive yet. It may be till really September. We'll probably have a better feel for the impact of the shelter in place and so on and so forth. So keep that in mind as I kind of go over all of this. Staff has been researching information provided by the Illinois Municipal League, National League of Cities, Illinois City County Management Association, and other publications in an attempt to estimate the impact we could be faced with regarding our local revenue streams, as well as our state shared revenues such as general sales tax, state use tax, income tax, road and bridge tax, and CPPRT, as well as the gaming revenue. So there is no one answer to the impact a municipality may encounter. and that the extent of any foreseeable impacts will vary from one municipality to another based upon the diversity of their tax base. So real quick to that, if you go by McDonald's from 11:30 to 2:30, you will stop out in Market Street. The parklets have been a huge hit. We have True Value and RP Lumber with the shelter in place. There was tons of people getting building materials, doing that remodel job they wanted to do and was putting off. So our tax base and our economy is pretty diverse. And I mention that because we even went back and reviewed numbers from the Great Recession that started in late 2007, and we looked at 07, 08, 9, and 10 numbers to see where they panned out during that recession and impact. So, and I've got some of those numbers we'll go over here shortly. Of special note, to date, all state and federal stimulus packages have only addressed expenses related directly to COVID-19 and have not addressed lost revenues specifically. There have been some efforts made to address the anticipated loss of revenues. Most recently, the National League of Cities submitted a letter to Majority Leader McConnell and Minority Leader Schumer seeking the federal government's support to state and local governments for the replacement of billions of lost revenue due to COVID-19. I spoke to at a city manager's meeting a couple of Wednesdays ago, and the general consensus throughout local governments is that there will be no such lost revenue stimulus package for local municipalities. Real quick, to some of the items found in the budget report, I'm going to dive into those and then compare or provide you a comparison from 2017, 18, and 19. So, the budget report, as provided, revenue was 41%. Revenue was 41% funded through 50% of the year. So tax revenues are at 41.8%, and that's without any property taxes being taken into account. Sales tax specifically was 43.9% funded. As a comparison to monies, 2017, at this time we were 453,000. 2018 we were 463,000. Last year we were 470,000. This year we're 458,000. That was sales tax. And again, this does not reflect some of April, May, thereabouts. So keep that in mind. State use tax is 69.8% funded. 2017 we received 73,000 at this time. 2018 we're at 78,000. 2019, we're at 92,000. This year, we're at 105,000. And these, I rounded these numbers just in case there's a conflict of pennies here. That was state use tax. We apparently, or obviously, we anticipate state use tax to increase because of its purchases like Amazon, out of state, that the purchase is made by somebody from Illinois. So we anticipated that. Income tax is 50.8% funded. As a comparison, at this time in 17, it was 250,000. 2018, it was 292,000. 2019, it was 335,000. At this time this year, it's 290,000. CPPRT, currently it's at 54.9% funded. As a comparison, in 17 we were sitting at 849,000. 2018 we were at 720,000. 2019 we're at 798,000. And so far we're at 714,000 this year. Gaming receipts, keep in mind they were shut down from the middle of March, thereabouts, and opened up a week or two ago, week and a half ago. So in 2000, gaming receipts are at 63.2% funded. In 2017, at this time, we're at 41,000. 2018 at 41,000. 2019 at this time is 46,000. And right now in 2020, we're set at 47,000. Road and bridge tax is sitting at 56.2% funded. And 2017, this isn't a huge income for us, but as another comparison, 2017, it was at 33,000. 2018, it was 28,000. 2019, it's 31,000, and right now we're at 28,000. When we looked back at the recession, and the city's fiscal year ended April of that year, so 2008, fiscal year 08 would be ending April of 2008. So, in those years, in April of 2008, the fiscal budget of 2008, the total tax revenue was plus 14%. And then I looked at the biggest contributor, CPPRT. We budgeted $1,080,000. We received $1,395,530. The two other big ones, sales tax for FY08 was plus 16%. Income tax was minus 1%. So that was at the very beginning of that recession. In FY 2009, April 2009, we ended up with those revenues plus 9%. The CPPRT was budgeted at $1,100,000. Came in at $1,277,785. Sales tax, 11% plus 11%. Income tax, plus 0.3%. And then FY 2010, the total shared state revenue taxes were plus 19%. The CPPRT was budgeted at $750,000. And we came in at $1,131,033. Sales tax was minus 18%. Income tax was minus 32% for the year end. So 2010, it was a pretty big hit in a couple of those areas, but overall we're plus 19%. So what do you think that is? And there's two things that come to mind is what I mentioned earlier, diversity of the tax base, and then, as we always do every year, is the conservative revenue projections. We don't inflate those revenues, and we're very conservative with them, and this is the obvious reasons why. So that's kind of the general fund snippet of the revenues. The motor fuel tax is a separate fund. Right now it sets at 73.6% funded. Part of that is due to the renewal fund allotment, our portion of that 19-cent increase, as well as the Rebuild Illinois. Mike, somebody asked, the revenues for MFT seem to be really, really good. The Rebuild Illinois projects over the next 3 years we'll get an additional $350,000. So each year, I think what we get a $60,000 check, and it has to be spent by 2025, but that's part of Rebuild Illinois. So we should get, $120,000 extra each year. Business district tax, we implemented it to begin in 2020. Right now it sits halfway through the year at 16.4%. It has $33,000 of it projecting $200,000. So any questions so far? I don't see anybody crying. Or...
You said you'll probably really have a better handle things on like September, maybe October, something like this, because everything runs behind, correct? So what happened in March and April or early May, when things were really, probably is not showing up right now, is that correct?
Correct. That's why I looked back, you and I, Tom, we talked in my office.
Some of the past years.
Yeah, where we said the Great Recession, so that's what we looked at well, I mean, 08, 09, and 2010. And what jumped out at us in those two items, the sales tax and income tax, were the ones that jumped out. Overall, you know, we ended up okay. And which economist you want to listen to depends on how much you want to weep and cry. But, so if you noticed in your budget report, so I went over the revenues. I'm going to spend a few minutes to go over some of the expenses. Administration right now, again, 6 months in, these are real numbers, real time numbers. Halfway through the year, administration expenses, we set at 50.4%. One of the main contributors to that is the services, which is engineering fees. We're at 95.6% spent. That is the infamous track 8 engineering. So closeout continues with the IEPA. In an effort to get the no further remediation or NFR letter. Callie just submitted a request for $91,000 to be reimbursed. She did that last month. So to date, if you remember, it was $180,000 of reimbursable expenses. We sit at $178,000 spent. So that everything looks fairly good there. The police are 40.9%. They're in good shape. However, their air conditioner, the second of two, finally went out, and it's of an age that is parts are hard to come by. You can't work on it, so they're replacing it, or they just recently finished that up. That's a unbudgeted amount of $12,000 for the AC unit. Fire and rescue sets at 91.1% expended. Obviously, we wanted that, if you recall, Resolution 2020-07. The fire department, thanks to their efforts and collaboration with other fire departments, namely the Village of Savoy, purchased 60 self-contained breathing apparatus and 20 harnesses with masks and regulators for $35,000 that was not budgeted. I think to buy those in the condition they were in, darn near brand new, was over $200,000. So money well spent. Public Works is sitting at 40.8%. In expenses. We have, over the last few years, we've had a couple of retirements and a wealth of knowledge and skill set that left the city. But we were trying to not have to replace those two individuals. We had to replace the mechanic. I can tell you that the daily operations, the maintenance of daily operations and projects are starting to feel the strain. From that, in 2014, we had 16 public works employees. We currently have 14, and the strain is starting to show. On top of that, with the COVID-19, we have not hired seasonal or part-time employees that would be doing trash, weed eating, a lot of things that free up time larger skill set person. So not hiring the part-time or seasonal folks equates to about 160 hours a week that we don't have at our disposal right now. So you understand the strain that's putting on the Public Works Department. Also within the Public Works budget, landscape waste costs continue to rise after the closing of the access to the old gravel pit. In 2013 or 14, it was $10,000 in processing. This year it was $30,000. So I've asked Jim Gavarzik and Brett Baker to look at some type of trench burner, air curtain type burner. Jim just went over to St. Joe last week to look at, they just bought a smaller version of what we're looking at, but we're going to come to council probably next fiscal year, toward the end of this year, with some trench burner numbers. As of right now, it looks like it didn't pay for itself in 4 or 5 years. And then also in Public Works, there are certain expenses that we're tied to that can't be postponed. And I've asked every department to try to postpone anything and everything that you can postpone for another year. Chief, we tried the AC unit and it finally just shot craps. So that's something we have to replace. But everybody understands and everybody's being diligent. If I don't absolutely need it, I'm not going to buy it. And I applaud every department head for all their efforts so far. It has been greatly appreciated. Back to where I was going, the loan payments for that obviously expenses were tied to. The loan payments for the loader, the 2 backhoes we purchased in 2019. Those loan payments will be done at the fiscal year 2022. So on to recreation. Right now they sit at 33.2%. Part of that is obviously we still have to pay utilities. We had computer replacements, 1 or 2 computers. One computer we had to buy, we didn't have a choice. We had spent monies for such programs as baseball and Easter egg hunt. Employees, the 2 full-time employees, have been reassigned to Public Works and beautification. So that goes to back to that, we're not hiring those seasonal employees, but we're reassigning kind of workloads as best we can. I think there's still going to be some need for expenses that I'll get into here in a minute. The aquatic center is sitting at 2.2%. We didn't have aquatic center. So we still have utilities and some maintenance. I know there's still some concrete work that needs to be done. There's some painting that needs to be done, that we need to take advantage of the pool not in operation. Every year we struggle, the paint's supposed to dry, apply the paint, it's supposed to cure for 30 days or something, and we're always, it's tight to get it cured within that 30 days. So Memorial Day sneaks up on it. We got to fill the pool a couple weeks in advance, so we're going to take advantage of it not being in operation this year. And then last thing, the general fund, capital improvements, is sitting at 49.8%. Several items have went into that. You guys approved the GPS and total station or survey, construction equipment, and a pickup truck. Those were all purchased prior to the pandemic. So those are already purchased. The bike path came out of the general fund, paving and sealing, paving the one towards Apple Tree, and then we sealed the one out by the Cemetery Road. That was awarded right before the pandemic. And then some more loan payments are included in that Public Works building. The first loan payment was this year, and that goes through fiscal year 2028. $62,000 and some change, I think. So that's general fund expenses, kind of a snippet on that. And then water and wastewater are self-sustaining enterprise funds. Water revenues sit at 47.9%, expenses at 55.2%. Wastewater revenues at 31.7%, expenses at 30.1%. I don't feel there's anything on the horizon for those funds or self-sustaining. Getting into, so any questions on expenses? Did I cover it at all? Okay. Didn't know how the internet was going to work over here, so I turned off some stuff. So we ran some numbers on the fiscal year 2020 budget called COVID-19 adjustment, and we looked at 15% reductions in some items, general sales tax, 15% reduction in state use tax, which I don't think we're going to witness that. A 15% decrease in income tax. Earlier I said 2010, it was like an 18% decrease, so maybe that's online, that one. Hotel motel tax, a 20% reduction, you know, they're struggling. And then the CPPRT, if we take a 20% reduction in that, and then everything said and done with those reductions, we began the year in the black, 26,000. If those projected reduced revenues occur at those percentages, we would be in the red, $265,500. So, I'm hoping that's a worst case scenario based upon everything that we know of right now. I might have to eat those words 2 months from now or in September. But I do want to point out that because of our spending habits, in my opinion, we have in reserve $2,130,681. And then we have an additional $574,000 restricted funds that it would take council action to use those restricted funds. So $2,130,000 in reserves. I in no way, shape, or form, and I'm sure you all will agree with me, I don't want to operate that we're diving into reserves $200,000 or $300,000 annually, and we don't do that. But we've never been faced with this type of situation. So again, I want to reiterate, I want to thank all city staff, all department heads, to be diligent in their spending this year, and we've had many numerous discussions about that topic. Some of these things are unavoidable, and there's loans and so on and so forth. Some of these things were purchased or were awarded prior to the pandemic, so I'm hoping the worst case scenario we don't witness, but that would be that $250,000 in red. So I think that's all I have for budget. That's a lot of numbers, a lot of information thrown at you tonight. If you have any questions, I'd be more, or I can probably answer them. If you think of anything, you have a concern, you can email or phone. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll get the information or the answer you need.
Any questions or comments, Terry?
Well, first off, I think that cities, from a budget standpoint, have traditionally done a very good job at having a balanced budget and having a conservative budget, and this is paying dividends. And our two biggest revenue streams, sales tax, I think, may still come up under, but feel a little bit optimistic. It's a CPPRT, but we just don't know. And we're 54%, 50% through the year. So that's, to me, is the wild card one where it's back.
Yeah. I was pleased looking back at the recession. Tom and I had a pretty good discussion about it. We thought we'd see something jump out at us. And I think a lot of it's the diversity we have.
I think one of the things we talked about, and we talked about possibly happening this time around, and I haven't checked or whether you've heard of kind of auto sales. I believe auto sales, a small town like ourselves, they have 2 auto dealers in it, is somewhat unusual. So I believe that is a big chunk of our sales tax, percentage-wise, I would say.
Absolutely.
And so, I'm not sure how auto sales would do, but I would think they would be down, maybe not.
I spoke to Travis Fox and Bill Abbott specifically, and during the thick of that pandemic shelter in place, they did not lay anybody off. They had reduced hours for their sales staff and maybe others. But and then that lasted a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, and then everybody kind of went back to the normal hours. So they had reduced hours, but I talked to Rick Ridings a couple of weeks ago, and March, April, May are big months for him coming out of the winter, and he did not indicate anything at all. It'll be a little bit lower, but there was no indication that he got hurt. It's a big hit. And I think part of that is, I know folks that in the office and friends, they went out and purchased a vehicle because it's 0% financing. Maybe they were going to hold off 2 years or something, and we ran down there and looked whatever online and called Travis or Rick or Bill and set me up for a test drive.
Anyone else? Terry, I certainly appreciate all of the administrative staff, all of the department heads working so well with you. I'm very impressed with the numbers, and I'm very impressed with our standing right now. I think we've done well considering all of the stuff we had to deal with this year. So
Thank you.
moving on. Adult use recreational cannabis, discussion only.
Oh,
People, I would really like to get to where we could give him some direction as to what we want to do so that we can get this off the table. I'm tired of talking about it. That's just my opinion. Terry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you are aware, adult use recreational cannabis became legal in Illinois on January 1st. City Council had held several meetings throughout 2019 and earlier this year regarding this very subject. Previous actions taken by elected officials include implementing the 3% sales tax on September 9th by ordinance 2019, by ordinance 2019-51, Planning and Zoning Board held a public hearing regarding possible text amendments to the zoning code moratorium on September 16th of last year. The City Council approved the moratorium on recreational cannabis with ordinance 2019-56 on September 23rd of last year. The moratorium provided notice to any possible developers that the city is discussing recreational cannabis and has yet to decide on its allowance or to opt out. The moratorium is due to expire October 1st, 2020. I know this council wanted pre-pandemic to make a decision prior to that 12-month window. However, I'm glad we put a 12-month window. In January of this year, the City Council passed ordinance 2020-02, thus addressing the provisions of local law enforcement and their regulation of recreational cannabis to keep those fines and fees in the City of Monticello. I attached supporting documents of all the recreational cannabis specific City Council meeting agendas, pertinent meeting minutes, and any ordinance or resolution pertaining to recreational cannabis in your packets last Wednesday. The mayor and some City Council members have indicated an interest in resuming these discussions with an ultimate goal of providing some resolution sooner than later regarding adult use recreational cannabis. So I think that if you look through your packet and as we went over the brief memorandum here, several meetings have been conducted with discussion only. I know that most of you, if not all of you, wanted more public participation, but it just didn't come to fruition. But it was not from a lack of effort on this group. So it is recommended the City Council discuss adult use recreational cannabis and any applicable zoning text amendments associated with controlling recreational cannabis at the City Council meeting tonight, ahead of possible action at the next City Council meeting. What I mean by possible action is direction to staff, because it's going to have to go public hearing, planning and zoning board, to talk about text amendments. That's how we can control it in the zoning. If you don't want to opt out, we allow it here, whatever allowance we provide, dispensary, cultivation, smoke shop, whatever that is, zoning is your mechanism of doing it. And whether it's permitted by use or by right, or it's permitted by conditional use, which would come before you, this council, this board, to grant them approval. There's setbacks that we've talked about. I think I sent you an email. We talked about it Monday, August 26th, the setbacks from schools, churches, all that stuff. And I sent you the PDF back on August 27th. My copy here you can't really see, but it outlined from those things we talked about, school or church or whatever. There was a yellow line representing a 100-foot setback. There was a blue line that represented 200 foot, and then there was a red line that represented a 1,000-foot minimum distance requirement for the prohibiting of advertisement. Did you guys? I don't know if you guys have looked at this IML that you hopefully got. Everything we have done today, there's a fact sheet here, it talks about effective, obviously, January 1, local regulation of consumption, municipalities may not restrict. And this is imperative, and I think this was kind of one of the things that we kind of struggled to get over. Municipalities may not restrict the private consumption of cannabis that is authorized by that act. However, the act prohibits the use of cannabis in public places, schools, children care facilities, among other locations. Municipalities may adopt and enforce local ordinances to regulate possession and public consumption of cannabis so long as the regulations and penalties are consistent with that. It talks about the zoning that we've talked about on several occasions. The Act preserves local zoning authority and directly authorizes municipalities to prohibit, which means opt out, or significantly limit the location of cannabis business by ordinance. So, with the sales tax, the moratorium, with everything that we've put in place, I think this council has performed due diligence to date, and in case, there was some stuff that was going to come up later in the year, that really never came out. So we put some of these things in place in case something snuck in, there was some developer came in, and we had no way to say, no, you can't put it in that location. So everything we've done to put it in place is to protect this community until we all, this council, decides what you guys and ladies want to do. So hopefully, maybe discussion tonight, maybe some follow-up discussion next time, we get some direction to do opt out, go down the zoning road. I'll end it there, Mayor. Long-winded tonight.
Very good. Comments, questions, ideas, thoughts?
Are there still people wanting to set up shop in town?
Kelly-
At one point there was something going on.
Kelly had another, what I'll call craft grower. Mayor,
Yes.
if you recall, that shot Callie an email maybe 2 or 3 months ago. So, I just asked Callie to forward the agenda. This individual asked if it ever comes up for discussion to give them a heads up. So I just had asked Callie to send the agenda to them. So there's a craft grower, and I think last year it was a similar cultivator of some sort. I don't think I know any other. There was one individual here in town that was interested in a dispensary. I stand corrected. There was one individual here in town, and I don't know the seriousness of it, but she reached out to Callie.
Comments, questions? We've had this on the table so many times. It's time to get it revisited. It's time to get all the talking done and do something. So I guess we're not going to do anything until the next meeting. But if you have comments or etc., please share them with Terry. Or if you want to say until next council meeting, you can. But we really need to get going on this, get something taken care of.
Well, I think there's been a grow operation, as near as I can tell, authorized in northern Pike County. I think the county zoning board has given authorization for a grow operation in the northern end of the county for a couple of people that, I know one of them anyway fairly well, a farming operation, that decided to branch out to grow. That being said, that is what it is, but my personal opinion hasn't changed. I would vote however that we opt out. I will not vote in favor of it being sold or handled here in Monticello. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, I guess that's just me. I've been involved in it off and on for a number of years through law enforcement. I just don't see it, and I know we are in as tough a situation money-wise as we are right now. I know that 3% tax would help. I realize all that, but for me, if it comes up, I'll tell you right now, if it comes up for vote now or later this month or next month or whatever, my opinion will not change. I am opting out. We are not, it's not for me.
So is that where we're at? Are we ready to vote?
We can't.
Not today, but next week, meeting.
Yeah. We might as well put it on the table or vote.
Do you need direction?
I mean, I could put a resolution together if this council desires to, the resolution will simply say, in short, City of Monticello hereby opts out. And then I think it'll be a resolution, which should be a report. And then you get a motion to approve or resolution, whatever, a second. And it's going to be voted on. And that would give direction. If you don't opt out, then I'm going, that direction would be go down the zoning road. Or opt out and we're done.
I'd like to be approached by anybody that would be in favor of it. Obviously, we talked about the money part of it. It's probably won't have the effect maybe people think, but the opinion of the public seems to be, I haven't met anybody to be for it.
I actually went to a parking lot and sat there where people were getting out of their cars, and I spent some time there, and then going to get their product, and then coming back. And it sort of changed my mind. I was like, thinking that the tax benefit would, it would really, enhance the city. But after watching that and then watching them come back to their cars, some people left. Some people ate their edible right there in the parking lot. Some people put their marijuana in their glass bubble and did that in the parking lot. And then, not that we don't have that all over the world, but then you have, under the influence, and then, then I start thinking, then they're driving away in our city, and, things could happen to our younger people, older people, whatever. So I think doing that, it totally changed my mind as that I would not want it in Monticello. I just don't think our, sweet Monticello needs that. And it's not that far and I'm not, saying you can't buy, it's legal. But, they can get it right in Champaign, Decatur, wherever. So more power to them. They would get my revenue if I needed to purchase cannabis. Over in Champaign.
You didn't necessarily feel like it was more people who would medically needed it. It was more recreational.
It was all kinds. The soccer mom, people my age, people that probably waited in their car because they couldn't get it themselves, and then got out of their car and got it from someone else. I mean, it was an eye-opening experience because I've never seen anything like it. And my daughter and I were there, and I was like, oh, let's watch this, And so it was just something that having a 6-year-old granddaughter, that it just made me think I just don't want, I would not vote and have that responsibility to, take the chance that someone did that here in my community and hurt someone. So I'm kind of like Wendell. I'm not sorry, but I would say no. I would say opt out. I mean, I
kind of always had that same thought, but then, I also had somebody dealing with cancer
Sure.
who also medically needed it, and I know there are so many people who medically go to these facilities who need that product.
Yes.
But you can't distinguish that from the other recreation use, so that's the
Yeah, and it is, you're right. I sort of feel that, hey, the Lord put it on this earth, and it was for medicinal use, for that wonderful thing, and then, people abused it. So, and yes, it's great for, I would,
Right, there's a circumstance.
but there are some places that can still get it.
Right,
Yeah,
it's
so
still
that's-
available,
Yeah,
but
so that's just how I feel.
I think we've created a nice community, and I think this could have a really negative effect on it,
Yeah.
personally.
I'm okay with just stopping it. I think it's going to be okay. That's the direction we're going. I think it has been all along, probably.
Well, that's not saying we can't revisit it in the future, correct? I mean, if something changes on, you know, I'm talking in the future, but.
You have direction.
I believe I do. And I appreciate that. So I would get the attorneys on the draft a resolution. What I'm hearing, just opt out and then let the votes fall where they may.
See, this is another one of those issues. We've spent an awful lot of time on this, and we've spent an awful lot of time on garbage. And we need that time for other things. So, you have direction, you know what to do.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman's report, John?
Say again?
I caught you off guard.
That's okay. Thank you. Glad to be back, glad to see everybody. Love seeing you on Zoom, but nothing that is more of a pet peeve than getting feedback. So just great to see everybody here. Terry, thank you so much, and staff, of course, for putting all those numbers together. I think, when we come September time, we see what those numbers are going to look like a little farther down the road. Again, I agree with you to whichever economist you want to kind of pay attention to. I do think that, we're still going to be seeing some of the financial effects for another even year or two. People right now are just, nobody wants to save money until they don't have money. And so right now people are having probably issues cutting back on their lifestyle, and eventually when they run out of it, they won't have it to spend. But we'll see. I hope that's not the case. I hope everybody's being responsible, but with jobs and stuff, it's just kind of tough, and with businesses closing here in town, or at least decreasing the services they provide, it's always hard to hear. So, but thanks for providing those. I look forward to what those look like down the road. And Mayor, regardless of what Terry said, I always have your back. So
Thanks so much, John.
that's all I got to say.
You get extra.
I know.
Look at your paycheck.
I'm sure how I got put in back.
Wendell?
Extra credit.
Yeah.
With John, thanks. I'm glad we're back together here, and hopefully we'll get a little better than that. I'm getting some requests from some people in my ward about infrastructure improvements, namely street and gutter situations that need to be looked at. So I think I'll touch base with Terry in the coming weeks and see where we're at down the road in our big plan. He was nice enough to respond a few weeks ago to a request to take a tour, driving tour through Chaucer Boulevard and up and down those streets in that subdivision, and somehow or another through the years, I don't know whether the streets were built substandard, or the supervision wasn't there when they were built, or the product was not right, but the concrete streets in those subdivisions are falling apart. They're in terrible, terrible, terrible condition for no older than they are. It's going to be expensive to repair them. Concrete work is expensive. I've got some, Tammy can tell you, I got a chunk in front of my house right now. But I think we need to look at that. If we find when we go to repair those places that it was an inferior product, or that reinforcement was not put in where it needed to be or something, we need to certainly clamp down on future projects that come our way and make sure that that doesn't happen again, because I think we're looking at an expensive situation to repair the streets, at least in that area, and we'll wait to see what happens around. Some other spots I know we're looking at, I don't drink coffee anymore with the guys at Hardy, so I don't get my butt chicken every day for that. But obviously Grant Street needs to be addressed from State Street clear to the east side of town. It's in terrible, terrible condition, and it's getting worse all the time. So I think we need to look at that. The other point I want to bring up, and this is a little bit humorous to me, And I want to, Jill, we don't do our water billing anymore, right? Is that contracted to a company, somebody?
We do ours.
We do our own. Okay, well, I'm not chewing on anybody, but my sainted mother-in-law passed away early May, and I thought we had all our stuff taken care of, and today in the mail, someone spent 55 cents to send me a 37-cent water bill. I don't think that's a good idea. I think if we have water bills that fall in under $1, I don't see the point in chasing that around. If we don't have that on the books, I think it ought to go on the books. We're wasting, that was a waste. You know, we're in the hole. Not a whole lot, but they put a postage stamp to send me a 37-cent water bill. Now, I paid it. I'm going to pay it. I'll pay it right now. But I just find that to be, you know, we ought to watch it a little bit closer. I don't think we ought to chase stuff that's that amount of money. Okay? That's all I got. We're good.
I just have a question about the wastewater treatment plant. Is it like done? Have we, I mean, I know it's working, but is it like completed?
It is completed. We've signed off on substantial completion. We are still tweaking the new processes. You know, when we built the Front Street lift station, which is, you know, about 14 million and it's this size, we had to tweak that Front Street lift station for months. It's just part of the animal, you know. And just today, unfortunately, our wastewater treatment plant operator had just undergone a medical situation, and he is not working right now and hasn't been for some time, and he's doing fine. But so you know, you throw everything else in the mix that we're having to deal with, then you lose an operator, and it's kind of a big deal. The individual is our succession plan to the operator has been diligently working on there at the plant, and he just told me this afternoon, this alum that is an increase in our chemicals for the wastewater treatment plant, they have, him and Jim Barzik and the design engineer have been tweaking that oxidation ditch. And we may, fingers crossed, we may not have to use the amount of alum that we had originally projected. So it's just a work in progress as they tweak things as they go. But we've signed off on substantial completion. And we're going to give a tour one of these days to, we'll have a field trip.
Yeah.
The wastewater treatment plant.
Can we make sure it's not a real hot day?
We'll do it in August.
Yeah.
I'll pass them.
About 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I'll go in December.
You'll be fine.
Thank you. That's all.
I'll drive the bus to the.
Thanks.
That's all I got for you.
I actually just have a couple of things tonight. More of just something just put on the discussion further down the road, but the parking lines and like the lines on the streets, the crosswalks and so forth, the paint is just all but gone. I tell you, you get some, there's any type of weather, rainy days or anything, you just can't see them, it's hard. And of course, I'm talking uptown and so forth, so I don't know this is probably good, but, legally, yes, I mean, but they're all but non-existent. I think we just need to look at that in the future. And then curious about the street sweeper. I noticed it hasn't been out, but is that more of a budget thing, or is it working, or just curiosity more than anything?
It is working, and that's one of the seasonal employees that we did not bring back.
Okay.
So that is another task that there's been 2 or 3 public works full-time employees that have been using it. Some use it better than others. But we just had a conversation about that. It's going to get out as soon as it can again.
to get up there.
Yeah,
I'd take it done.
Yeah.
that's true.
Mary?
I'll volunteer to take attendance on that.
I think we could Rocky drive.
I thought she was gonna volunteer to run the street.
I think she was.
Tempting.
Thomas?
Well, since they were talking about the wastewater treatment plant, are the aerators not, I haven't seen them running for a while. Is it not needed to, or?
I don't know the answer to that. Usually,
Those fountains.
Okay.
yeah, they may not be needed.
I don't know, you know, I mean, just to drive by, it doesn't look, the pond doesn't look bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, it used to be before they put the aerators in it.
yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna assume if they're not up, they're not needed yet.
So,
That's it. Michael?
On Saturday night, we had, with the storm, we had an unfortunate set of dominoes with 3 trees in front of our house. Started and took out a couple trees in the right of way. And the city folks were over there this morning. I can show you what it looked like on Grant Street. And in a matter of a morning, they did a fantastic job getting rid of that. So I applaud them for making what was a really big mess and cleaning it up in short order.
Anything else from council? Moving on to the police chief's report. John Carter.
Yes. You guys have our numbers from last month. They're fairly similar to what was last year, number-wise, so everything there is pretty much running the same. This weekend is supposed to be the Monticello to Peoria St. Jude run. Now, they aren't doing the big run from here to there, but they are doing several small runs here in town. I'll try to get those put on our Facebook page tomorrow so that people can see those different locations. But as you're out and about and as you talk to people, have them just watch for those that are running. One of the big spots where they're mixing with higher speed traffic is going from Kirby up around to Walden Pond. They're going to run through there and back. So just as you're going up past Lodge Park, just be careful and just watch for runners all the time, but more specifically this Saturday. Also coming up, I reached out to the attorneys for a new ordinance, which would allow us to do boot and tow in relation to parking violations. We're getting some individuals that aren't paying their parking tickets, and they've got quite a bit of fines. There used to be a statute that was taken away by Governor Pritzker earlier this year, which allowed us to suspend driver's licenses and license plates. But that was repealed, and it's called the Right to Work statute. So we could not do that. So this would allow us to take their vehicle until they make all the payments on the vehicle, or on the parking tickets, and then they receive their vehicle back. So that's something that will be coming up. And like I said, it will be from boot and tow. I could look into some booting devices. They're not that expensive, but I think that honestly our best bet would be just to tow it and hold it until they pay the fines. So, but it would just give us options. And that will be coming later as the attorneys look at it.
Thanks, John. John Remke, Fire Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. We had our monthly training this past month. First meeting we did scene size up and radio communication basically is us. We started our training round. We got the fire going in the cans out there, and we pull up and we would describe to incoming companies that were coming in. It's really good training there. The last 2 weeks, the last 2 training nights, we did hose testing. This is something we have to do annually. And what we do, and you may have seen us out in front of the firehouse on Thursday night, we have to pull all the hoses off the trucks, run water through them at the high pressure, 250 pounds of pressure, make sure they're not leaking or there's something wrong with the hoses. If there is, we got to pull on service. We have to do this annually with every truck. In each engine truck, it's a good 3 hours to do each one. So the last 2 trainings in June and the first one in July, we got that all done. It's required by OSHA. So we got that taken care of. We had a couple of officers meetings too in June. I also want to give a special thanks to Circle K. They put out a donation cup, and we got $145 worth of donations from citizens of Monticello. And Circle K also provided a meal for the firefighters, which was nice. I want to thank the Methodist Church. They brought cookies in the car for the fire department, which is very nice of them. I want to thank the PD for, we had 800 masks donated to us to distribute out to the public. We, of course, are in the building 24/7 like the PD is, so there's a sign at our door to come over, and anybody can get a free mask, or 2 or 3 masks for themselves and their families. So I think, Mayor, did you grab a couple? You were asking me that. I also want to thank John Deere and Congressman Rodney Davis. They provided 100 free face shields for the fire department, which we used during COVID, of course, and after that too, for any type of medical, any type of splatters. So we appreciate that. We ran 38 calls last month. We're at 215 year to date. Any interesting calls? We had a mulch fire at Kirby Medical Center, a washing machine over at the laundromat was smoking, and some bushes were on fire on 1036 Market Street. So not too many interesting calls this morning, but we kept busy. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. City Administrator's report, Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I get into some of the nuts and bolts of the plan and zoning board meeting next month, I want to can't thank staff enough. Jill Potts, Warren Metcalf, Lacey Lynch, Callie Joe McFarland, Clayton Dobson, Brent Baker, Carlos McClellan, Minnie Congress. They have been, this has been a pretty trying time, but they have been troopers. They've been a huge help and assistance to me. All these numbers, all these reports, everything you get, they spoon feed it to me when I ask, and we work well together. So setting this up, everything just is more difficult now. And I want to thank all the city staff, all the public works department. Randy Milton got a call on a tree down on Grant Street. I get a call Sunday morning. What do you want to do? You know, how many houses are affected? How many driveways are there? Can we block their aerial utility lines? When are the utility company going to get there? I mean, everything is just, we're still running as normal as can be, and it's from the efforts of all those people, from the works department, police department, fire department, city staff, and they're not, people are not doing what they're normally doing, and they're not complaining. They're pitching in to do everything to make this community what they love about it. And you see any public works guy, city employee, do a paddle, don't touch them, give them the hay, and thank them for their efforts because they deserve it. Mayor mentioned the CEO program real quick, and he mentioned leaders, young leaders. You guys will be just amazed with what these senior high school students have done. It takes, I think there's 5 or 6 communities involved in it. Kelly Jo McFarland, Lisa Shepard was the mentor. There's the inaugural class. If you have a chance to come out and talk with them tomorrow night, not all of them will be here, but they would greatly appreciate seeing these leaders address them as these young leaders, and the steps and progress they made. If you met them at the beginning of the school year, you wouldn't recognize them at the end of the school year. I think they gave a presentation one night, and just well-spoken, well-behaved, manners. They cover the whole gamut to make leaders. So if you can, that would be great. And again, it's 5 or 6 school districts, Principal Clapp, Superintendent Zimmerman, and their colleagues and all these other communities have just been wonderful. So it's a wonderful program, inaugural class, COVID 2020. So, next week, the Planning and Zoning Board, the conditional use permit for a miniature golf course, 450 West Main Street, it's by the Pepsin Hill area. Variance request for the residential sign in Sage Woods for height and illumination. Conditional use permit to allow a school, public or private, in an RD zone, 1109 North State Street. And conditional use permit for planned unit development. That's the Pepsi Reader Track 8, Spencer Atkins project for planned unit development. So next Monday, the PZB will have their hands full with some public hearings, but we tried to postpone those for obvious reasons to be held in person. We can't hold off anymore. So hopefully things go as planned next month.
Is that going to be here?
We're going to try to do it here, and then those items obviously will come to you the following Monday on the 27th. That's all I have.
And we are meeting, we will continue to meet here until at least the end of September. Right?
Yeah,
So it may be
I
longer.
think we might as well carry on the rest of the year, maybe.
Yeah. So this is a nice improvement. Any other comments or questions before I adjourn? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.